Hi, welcome to all to week 3 in Working in Industry 2. I was just having a chat with Tanya and Amanda, and I'm really pleased we've got a 50% increase in audience. Saying that, we're up to 2 people. My target is really out of this class at least 8 in a session. So if you're out there in Zoom land watching, please make an effort to come in next week, join us. I'm hoping that by joining us, you reduce your anxiety. We talk about assignments. Amanda and Tanya are pretty funny. They'll probably crack a couple of jokes. I'll keep it very entertained. I'll try and keep the ball rolling and keep the educational aspect going. But really what we're missing is you. So come in and join us. This week, we're talking about effective communication with young people. There's a couple of things that I'm going to be bringing up, but first I better get on the right page here because I am sharing this page. Let's see here. Week 3, effective communication. So there were some readings to do this week. Let's do a quick poll. Hands up who's completed the reading this week prior to coming to the class. 100%. 100% of the attendees have done that. Hopefully that's the same for you viewers at home. But, I think the reading, when we do the reading and I start talking about some things, instead of having blanks, people go, I get that. They'll have aha moments. And so I really see that in people's eyes where I can really tell when I'm looking at the people attending classes where they go blank, and I know I'm off track, or when I see their eyes light up, they go, I know this, right across it. And that's what I'm always looking for, people to go, I know this stuff. So active listening. We've got a handout here. I really like this Zoom because you can just do this and it comes into your line of sight magically. It's like David Copperfield. I love that stuff. And so with that, active listening. So in a nutshell, can either Amanda or Tanya tell me, well, they're already reading the form, but pre-reading the form, what is active listening? I'm watching their eyes go along the lines, but doesn't matter. It's just a reminder of what active is. I'll even go down and look. What are the key components? What is active listening? Not all at once. All right.
When you're showing you're actually listening.
Yeah. And so, what are some key examples? If you went into the bank and you're in there to talk about the possibility of getting a loan for a large riverboat because it's been, a fantasy to have a riverboat to retire on. And so you're sitting there in front of them all. How would you know, as you're giving out your spiel, that they're listening to you? What would they be doing to indicate to you they're listening?
Using their body language. Sorry.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, body language. So body and what would they be doing with their body language?
While they're listening, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, they look on their face.
Yeah.
They could be nodding.
Now you're starting to hit it. Yeah. Let's keep drilling down. Nodding.
Smiling.
Smiling's good if you're telling a good story. I mean, what happens if you're telling that, your father used to own a riverboat and he unfortunately passed away in a tragic accident? If they're smiling at that, what would that indicate?
They're crazy.
Yeah, that's right. So it's probably not a good thing. So smiling's not necessarily an indicator, but it is one. So use of facial expressions. Maybe if you're telling me that about your father who tragically passed away in a riverboat accident and that you want to buy a riverboat, maybe if I went, so what you're saying is that you're still interested in buying a riverboat even though your father passed away. So it must be a long history of riverboat driving or motoring in your family. And so I'm reiterating that back. So reiteration is a key thing. Compressing the answer and saying back. Probably not trying to be judgmental about riverboat drivers, and so being non-judgmental in general. probably not going a lot of this. I think for us, even the small nods and understanding, yes, that would probably give you some notes. There's some of the key things. Going through the handout, I'll go from the top to the bottom, but you might be getting the picture that listening is not only done with the ears, but also involves showing someone that we are listening to them. We call this being an active listener. Active listening is the process by which workers hear what their client has to say and lets the client know that they're hearing what they're saying. Most of us are not great listeners. It's been reported that we listen to about 25% of our potential, which means we ignore, forget, distort, or misunderstand 75% of what we hear. That's huge, isn't it? And me as a lecturer knowing I could have prepped for a month and got everything ready, but 75% of what I prepped will go out the window to my students. So knowing that, what gets me over the line? Body language. So when I'm talking to someone to lock in points, I'll use a lot more body language, expression, how I do it. You find that, and I think I asked Amanda last week, but Tanya, what do you think the percentage cut up is when I'm communicating with you of language, so words, to body language and what you take in?
Was it 80-20?
Yeah. Oh, you probably watched, I must have said it last week, did I? You watched the video. There you go. So let's go back
I think
to...
the answer was 80-20.
So let's go back to that reported that we listen at about 25% of our potential, which means we ignore or forget. You remembered that, so that was part of your 25%. Thank you very much. So I think that I think that knowing that, I think the body language. If you look at different communities, and it is that body language all the time, isn't it? And body language really just gives us away, tells a story. That's why you see people playing poker, and I suppose I don't indulge in poker, but when I've watched it, I just look at that body language, and you kind of go, they're just, how they win at this game is not just giving in to their emotions. And I think to most people, we just give in to our emotions and they betray us. Not in a bad way. It's not as though we're enemies with ourselves, but, most people that know us would know when we're lying, for example, or know if we're hiding something, or maybe know we're really excited about something. So if we're talking to someone significant in our lives, we're like, I tell you, I did this, and they know that we are not putting that on. That would be a real one, or they could tell if we were putting it on. I think, or they know if we're lying because they know our body gives us away. That people who watch and observe us will know the difference. And unconsciously, our body, even though we might be thinking, I'm fooling people, or I'm doing whatever, or I'm really selling something, our body language gives us away. So you really have to be well skilled at understanding that. And that's for two reasons. And working in this field, the big two reasons for me are so I can communicate with clients effectively. I need to be able to show them. If I tried to create rapport, imagine if you're doing case management with a client and you couldn't connect with them because your skills are all over the shop. I couldn't show genuine empathy when they need it, when they're telling me. But I need to protect myself while I'm doing it. So even though I need to connect genuinely with my clients and show the body language that I am listening to them, because you'll create rapport in a flash if you show people you're actively listening to them, I need to protect myself. I need to create my clinical armor. And so that clinical armor is making sure that sometimes horrific stories that we hear and experiences of clients, I protect myself emotionally from it. So even though I'm showing empathy, I'm not giving away my sympathy, which would hurt me as a takeaway with that client. So I'm protecting myself somewhat. So this is all part of that communication game. We'll explore some of those aspects as we go along, but it's points to consider in communicating. And you thinking about, we as human beings, we just communicate naturally, and it's part of our defense mechanism from when we are born. I think I touched on that last week. But really, we've got to, when we learn to actually analyse how we communicate, then we start to control our environment a little bit more and not let our emotions dictate what's going on. We control that environment in a clinical sense. And that's a really important skill to start to learn as a worker in the welfare field, controlling your emotions and the communication level that you're giving out and being genuine when you need to be. I think I need a sip of water after that spiel. So key components of active listening are using attending behaviours, showing someone through your body language that you're listening, responding to non-verbal cues, smiling when they smile, looking concerned when they cry. And so that looking concerned is empathy, not sympathy, right? And there's a difference between the two. Being non-judgmental, not judging someone when they share something about themselves. I used to be a bedwetter. I haven't told anyone else. And, and you go, whoa, you're a bedwetter. My goodness. So we're not using shock and awe. We're always with our non-judgmental face. Using minimal encourages, for example, yes, go on. And so if you think that's like if you've ever watched a movie with a psychologist / psychiatrist, the old couch syndrome, where they'll go, yes, continue. It's that they put it on a little bit, but really just that encouraging yes. In day-to-day, we do it all the time. We just don't analyse that we're doing it. And so this is all about just getting you to stop and reflect and look at what the things you do and what you notice in others. And psychologists, psychiatrists, they're trained in this communication. So this is why they're using these simple tools. And you don't really know them until you stop and pause and analyse what you do yourself. And you use a lot of these, but it's controlling them. I'm going to harp on about that because it's not as though this is foreign to us. It's just recognising it within ourselves. Asking open and closed questions. So do either Amanda or Tanya know what that refers to?
Well, an open question is when you need them to explain their answer, and a closed question is like yes or no.
So, yeah, effectively yes. But so what you're doing, it's how you phrase your questions. If you're doing an assessment with someone, and most people who work in the welfare sector at one time or another will learn about assessment tools, etc. And these are tools how to elicit information, how to get information. If you structure your questions so only a yes or no answer can be given to answer it, your client's going to use it. So you really have to structure some of your questions so they don't elicit a yes or no answer. And so can you explain who is in your family makeup? Or so you're using questions which encourage people to talk a lot more about what's going on for them. But then you might want a yes or no question, very simply. Have you moved address in the last few years? Yes. How many times? And then you get a very simple answer, but it's how you choose them. And especially in interviewing, you definitely want to use more open questions. But yeah, you're right on it. And reflective listening. So look, some of that relates, and I'll just shrink. Some of those things relate to the active listening skills relate to what you're going to do in your placement. Hey, and if you've started, have you started your placement, Tanya?
No, I'm still looking.
I see, both in the same boat. So just being skilled up in some of these things will really help you really quickly. You'll be going in as really green into these placements, but don't let that put you off. I think not too much disclosure, but when I started in the welfare field, when I was late 20s, and so prior to that I'd been in finance, and then I went into the building industry and I was renovating houses, and I've gone into this because it was a passion of mine. But I remember I started off unbelievably green, and so you go in, and I started a place called Osdom House, which had 64 homeless men, a lot of them violent, out of jail, and it was just an eye-opener. So when you go in, what I just learned to do was just be calm and observe what was going on around me and observe others. I made that my mission to observe how the place worked. I read a lot, but I was observing others and other works, and I was listening, especially to the language that was used by the workers in that industry. And so, and I was using it, I didn't know it at the time, but I was using a technique at times called mirroring. So other workers would be talking, I'd be really trying to get across the language and understand what they were saying. And I was mirroring that back to them and talking to them using, similar phrases. And it was like a little club. I became very accepted very quickly because I was using their language. But all I was doing was using a mirroring technique, which I didn't even know I was doing. But, so I think if you just observe and get in that groove, you'll get a lot out of your placements once you finally get one. Right? So I think that the hard task is getting it. But, a few skills and you'll get in there. So that was active listening. A couple of other things that I was going to put in was 3.6, attending behaviours. And so this gets you to, let me just throw this into your line of sight. And so this is, again, how you show someone a little bit more detail. So you've seen all these sheets. Have you downloaded all these sheets and had a look at them already? Yeah, great. So, these are, I'm just going to do the main headings, but these are some of the things that you really start to need to learn and get across. So removing physical barriers in a room, being on the same eye level as your client, being aware of personal space and face the client and give them your full attention. Use eye contact in a culturally appropriate way. And so where might that be offensive in which cultures that you're aware of so far? If you give too much eye contact, for example.
Islamic cultures?
Yeah. Maybe, and what's one probably closer to home?
Aboriginal?
Yeah. In some cultures, that direct eye contact, and this is the thing, different cultures, sometimes those darting eyes, as Westerners, we're virtually taught that, or people can even be viewed as dishonest if they don't look at you in the eye. That's where I was going to go with that. It's actually a statement there. People are like that. As Westerners, we go, geez, they're a bit shifty. They're kind of looking around and, they're not looking me dead in the eye. But in some cultures, it's disrespect. For me, to look directly in the eyes of a Muslim woman for too long, that can be shown as disrespectful as well. And vice versa, if that woman is looking at, which is, I might not agree with the behaviour of, how some of these cultures are, but as long as I respect and those behaviours, when I'm talking to people from those cultures, so it's something to be aware of. And you'll learn more as you go on. Maintain an open and relaxed body posture. So that, these are things that you probably learned in the past. So, if someone's sitting there, arms crossed and, maybe even legs crossed, that person, well, I'm going to have to crack this nut, probably just, move with this person. So if you as a worker are there, you're sending off that vibe, and how it might be taken up most likely will be in a negative way. So making sure that you're open and your hands are out and, you're friendly, and having that like right angled stance, through the legs and then down. I'm sitting down so you can't see my legs, but yeah. So, you're sitting down and everything's kind of at right angles. That's kind of like that open stance. So it's not with legs crossed. Might move into that, but, I think that doing that just starts the transaction. And I call all of these transactions. And if you watched what I was saying last week, Tanya, every transaction is about encoding a message so the listener can decode the message, yeah? And that's why it's a transaction. Communicate with warmth and empathy. That's not always easy, but, we try and do that as much as we can and show and this is again talking about using minimal encourages. So what's 3.5? Let me just open up this. Now these are only, it's going to blow you away. I've got 3 slides to talk about. But these 3 slides, they're just... So this is just to lock this in, attending behaviour, showing people that we're interested in them and in what they have to say. It is crucial to the listening process. We demonstrate attending behaviour through our non-verbal behaviour, such as gestures, facial expressions, posture, and tone of voice. Demonstrating good attending behaviour is the first step in developing a good rapport with our clients and our colleagues. And so, for those, either of you who have been working in places, you know that even with your colleagues, if you create rapport really quickly, your workplace, the culture is great, isn't it? If that rapport isn't there, the workplace is kind of cold and you probably don't want to be there, and you think, yeah, this is a shit job. I'm out of here as soon as I get a better one. And so that is really hard. And I've worked in places where there's been, good and bad cultures. And, I always, and I've managed places that have had bad cultures and have really had to try and turn them around. And, I always remind people, it's up to everyone. Everyone's a part of culture and changing it. So everyone's a part of creating a good rapport in a transaction. If you're with a client, you could be trying your utmost best. It doesn't necessarily mean you're gonna get that client over the line, but you try and create rapport as quick as possible. What are some of the ways to show someone you're interested in them and what they have to say? So I think we've covered that bit in some questioning before. What are some things to avoid? That one is to both of you.
Maybe looking at your watch.
Yeah, that could be a pain. Here it's okay because you don't know I'm looking at my watch now, right? But, live, you can see that. So, yes, I agree. Think of a transaction that you've had with someone and think, all right, how's this? Think of a place where you've got really poor customer service. What were they doing?
Checking their phone.
Yeah, I heard someone's phone go off before. Just bidding.
Sorry.
Yeah, there you go. You didn't look down at it though. You get a brownie point for that one. So there's that. All right, checking their phone. Yeah, what else?
Acting rude.
Yeah, how were they acting rude?
Just standoffish and just didn't really want to talk to you or have anything to do with you.
And that's a
you were
customer
annoying them.
service person. What the hell? What are they selling? Nothing, obviously. They've got really bad sales stats for the month with that attitude. Yeah. What else do you see in that bad behaviour? What about bad customer service? I haven't got time for you, matey. I'm busy. They're doing other things. The avoidance tactic. So, they might be so busy they don't go, oh, there's a customer. Bang, got to be onto that. What about I don't know, in a restaurant spilling things on you? Is that Paul?
Would be.
Could be if they don't care afterwards. But what about some things to avoid? Not looking at someone. We touched on that when we're talking to them. Could be that they're talking to another colleague and not attending to you. That could be something. Is that a clock?
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, it's 9 o'clock. Groovy. So, there's many ways, but that's just trying to get you thinking. Where's the end of slide, sorry. Right. At least we know what the time is. That's great. That goes on a while, doesn't it, that clock? Is it a doorbell or a clock? This is all right. So what is it you do that conveys a message to you listening to someone? What could you do? What do you think you could do to improve your attending behaviours? Is there anything you can do to kind of or have you noticed in yourself, even though we've been talking about this and it's not a long reflection time, is there anything that you might notice about yourself in how you treat others and that you could improve? And it is putting you on the spot, but maybe it's a point to think about, right? Because sometimes we do things and we don't know them. So I think it's one of those takeaways that have a think about how you communicate and what are some of the bad things. I know one of the bad things I do, and I'm so shocking for it. If I'm at work and I get asked questions all day, I probably won't look at someone who's asking me questions. I'll be banging out stuff, and just do this. I might give them a little bit of a look just to see if they're human. But I don't look and I go, sorry, I'm just trying to get this going, And I'll apologise, but I know I should just stop and turn around and look at whoever's talking to me. But I just find that if I do that I get stopped so much at work, I never get things done, and I lose track of what I'm doing. But it's a shocking thing that I've got to fix anyway. And it is it's a problem. It's a first world problem, maybe. It's a problem of living in a country where you have to work for a living to pay the mortgage, and we've got to get stuff done on time. And we should be spending more time having coffees with our staff members, right? But our bosses won't let us do that. So got to get the work done. I'm just going to go into reflecting, clarifying, and empathy. So I touched on empathy before, and which is through the magic. So reflective listening. So you've read this, but also we're just going to go through it. So it means listening to the meaning of other person's verbal and non-verbal communication and responding in ways that encourage and promote further exploration of their thoughts and feelings and what's being said. So clarifying, that's that checking in. So what I was doing before when I was talking about riverboat drivers, and I should say skippering, riverboat skippering, that makes more sense. So when I was talking about riverboat skippering and I was paraphrasing back, so I'm checking in and saying, so what you're saying is da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. I'm paraphrasing back so people know that I'm on track. What I normally find with clients, if you get that wrong, they're the first to say, no, that's not what I said. And so you can set them off. So it shows that you're not listening. But when you've hit it on the head, because they'll go, yeah, that's right. That's exactly what they will tell. They're like guiding you in when you get things right. So it's all these simple things that we see and do. And if you think about the transactions that you might have with friends or family or others, those little things that I just explained, they probably happen a lot in your daily transactions. But we don't stop and look at them because they're not tools yet. All these things are not metaphoric tools on our tool belt, which I'm trying to really get people to think about, that as they go along, I'm trying to capture things that you probably do and make you realize that you do these things, but then turn them into a tool for communication that you activate. And so as I mentioned last week, there's two things. You've got your tool belt, then you've got that Kenny Rogers Gambit that I was talking about. What the hell is the Kenny Rogers Gambit? You got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them, know when to walk, know when to run. And so I always talk about that because you will create tools. You will know that you've got tools, and they'll be clunky at first. Some of these things, and you'll learn more and more and more in the art of welfare, but they'll become second nature. You won't even know you're doing it because you become that well versed at it. But then the really good practitioner, they swap between them seamlessly with their clients, and the clients don't even realize. As another worker watching someone, you can see another worker roll through different tools, use different approaches, use different frameworks. But to the client, they won't feel that. They won't see that. It won't feel clunky for them. And that's the use of that Kenny Rogers Gambit. It's knowing when to change things around. So having the tools are one thing, but knowing when to change things up is an art in itself, and to make it feel seamless. Doing that and getting to that point is creating rapport, making sure that you're talking and encouraging clients. You're at a nice wavelength. So you're what I would be considered a really good practitioner. I see that in some of my staff. I see the ones who have got that together, and they're really, I can see how they work with the client, and that they just create rapport, the clients, into the discussion straight away. And then I see others who aren't quite well versed yet, and they're clunky. So, they're the ones I'll probably say, oh, so how'd that conversation go? And I'll talk about it. Because the only way you'll move through that is if you reflect. If you reflect on what you're doing and how you're doing it. So these are all the skills the micro skills that you'll start to sharpen in your communication tool bag. One of the other things is we talk about clarifying. They've got a really good example that you've gone through it. I'm finding it really tough at the moment to support my 4 children alone on a supporting parents benefit. The older ones are always needing something for school, and I don't want them to miss out. I'd like to work to bring in more money, but with the cost of childcare, don't I know it? I don't know if we'd be better off. I also haven't been able to find anyone to take me on. Unemployment is really bad in this town. I think it'd be bad in any town, not just that town. Let's be real. The stress of trying to make ends meet every week is sending me crazy. I get really angry with the kids, and I don't want to do that. And so the worker says, it sounds like you're finding it incredibly stressful trying to support your family with such a limited income. However, with unemployment as it is, you don't know a way out of it because of this. You'll find that you're losing with the kids, which is not how you want to be. And so that is bang on what that client said, but rephrased, isn't it? Said in a nice way, they'll probably go, oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, you've got it. Bang. You go, okay, I'm landing the plane. I know what's going on. I'm right on with what the client is. Empathy. We touched on that before. What is empathy to you as opposed to sympathy? All right.
See, I know it, I just don't know how to explain it.
Because we're in reflection mode. You probably use these words every day, but we haven't paused and gone, hang on, what am I saying? What am I doing? What am I thinking? So let's try and just break them down to these 2 points and see if you agree with me. Empathy is something you can feel, but you can actually, it's more over, you're showing it, aren't you?
Yeah.
So this is how I describe the difference between the two. And I'm sure someone's going to get a dictionary and, maybe prove me wrong, but this is how I use these 2 things. Empathy is what I will show someone. To me, empathy is still real, but I use it as a clinical tool quite a lot because when I'm in clinical mode talking to clients, and so I don't really talk to clients as much anymore, but when I am, and when I was, what I would be doing, there's nothing worse than a client, and we touched on this before, saying to you something horrific in their life, and you're either stone-faced or you're or inappropriately smiling or something's going on, and you're not showing that face. A face of concern. So you're doing a physical attribute. But we do that with our friends and family, and there's sympathy attached to it. When I do it in a clinical sense, it is showing someone just that 2-dimensional face to show that I know what they're talking about. I can see that that's painful, but I'm trying not to take that away with me. With our friends and family, we might take that away with us, and that's where we talk about that sympathy. To me, sympathy is something that we feel, and if left unchecked, we can take home with us. And because of that, it can be a danger to workers at a level. If we don't or are not able to rationalize that or talk about how we feel. And it's really important in workplace that we start to learn the difference between the 2 and know ourselves well enough where we've heard something horrific to know that if I don't talk this out, I'm going to take this home with me. And if I take it home with me, it's going to affect me. So I need to debrief with someone. I need some clinical supervision. And so these are important things that you need to remove it, because talking about things, as you well know, when there's big issues in your life, just talking to someone who knows you, or even understands you at that point, it reduces the impact of anything. When we get really good at self-reflection and understanding that sympathy, how that works, and being able to talk through it so it doesn't affect us from clients, we're getting a lot better. You will find that, you know, as new to the field, some stories will touch your heart, and you have to really watch that, because you can't have things touching your heart and take them home every day. It will affect you in the long run. Post-traumatic stress syndrome. You see it in ambulance drivers, police, you know, fire brigade, firefighters. You see it in the welfare industry a lot. There's skills in how we protect ourselves. Communication is our main tool, but we must protect ourselves with it as well. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I'm probably talking a lot. Any questions about what I've been talking about? Any clarifying questions? What did you mean by that? I don't know. I know what you're saying. Any of that? No? We're on track? Okay. And so that empathy, there are several aspects to empathy. These include it's being attuned to the other person and exploring their values and beliefs about an issue. The ability to see the situation from the client's point of view, their frame of reference, if you like. Trying to put yourself in the client's shoes and walking beside them on their journey. Letting clients know you are listening and trying to understand their particular situation that they're explaining to you. So, yeah, we'll be going, look, there'll be a lot of points where we kind of putting things together, and, you know, the assignments come up in week 6, but all these things in communication, these are some of the most valuable skills that you'll learn in this welfare sector. So you're going to see me crossing over, and I'm going to be trying to explain a lot of those and then trying to bring them together in a nice package wherever I can, so they're good takeaway tools for you. You'll thank yourself that you really got across understanding communication tools and how you can use them to your advantage. I did show last week, there's a lot of books out there on body language and communication. It's always good to do a little bit of extra reading and things like that, because it does help. Have you all, what have they got here, interviewing? Oh, sorry, that was week 4. Oh my goodness. Sorry, I'm jumping ahead a week. So now, what we're going to do is 3.0, spend a few minutes, where have I got 3.8? Right. So did you see this appendix? Have either of you, oh, sorry, I'll enlarge that. How's that? Is that a bit better? Yeah. Spend a few minutes thinking about your own communication skills, considering the different aspects of communication that we've been exploring today and over the last 2 weeks, let's say 1 week, but we've been talking about communication, right? And answer the following. And so this, I don't expect you to do today. And for you who are watching the recorded session, I'd really like you to consider this question. And in the discussion forum, are you both well versed where the discussion forum is, Tanya and Amanda? Yeah? So the discussion forum is on the online communication space, heading discussion forum. Throw in there a thread. What do you think your main strengths are in terms of your communication skills? And so let's see if we can get a bit of a collective body of thinking. And if you can put that in there, it's just one of those quick things. Don't make it a life mission. A couple of dot points, you know. It's just to get you moving in that space. And I certainly wouldn't want you to spend, you know, the better part of a week coming up with a good answer. Just what you think, you know, in terms of your communication, what are your main strengths? You know, I'll give you an example of mine. You know, I'll always go out and my main strengths are motivating people and staff. So when I'm working with my staff, my whole mission is to get my staff to get the best out of themselves. So I'm a motivator. So my skills are being able to see what people are good at very quickly and say, I see this in you, what do you see? And trying to get them to work on that. as a motivator, I think, you know, and getting people to work at their best so they're proud of their own work, I think it's a great transaction. I feel I always try and do that with people. That's one of my strengths. It's not every strength. I've got a lot of deficits as well. My handwriting is the worst handwriting. And as a communication tool, I pity the fool, as Mr. T says, who tries to read my handwriting, because there's no way they can decipher that, even with a magic decoder ring, because letters change weekly. Maybe I should have worked as a doctor or something, but I don't have the intellect. That's the problem. Bugger! So here I am with you all. So yeah, if you can put something up online, it'll be fantastic. Yeah. The other thing is, I should have been asking this question last week and talking about it this week. That's why I'm trying to get you to put up. I'm just going to run through a couple more things, because I'm noticing, look, we are getting on an hour, and you know, everyone's getting older, but I want to touch on a couple of key aspects. Now these, I'll show you these, but you know, they are really shite. These are perception pictures. And look, you would have seen these before. I'm just going to show you one, because you'll get the drift in a second. It's part of this learning pack. Oh, there's a bit of shrink. That was better shrank, wasn't it? So you may have seen these before. What's the first thing you see when you look at it?
A lady.
Yeah, what's the age of that lady, you think?
Oh, actually, now I'm seeing the older lady. First, I saw the young lady.
Yeah. So these are all things that, you know, think of the ink blot tests and etc. These are all things that it's about perception. What do you see first? And you know, there's a couple more, but they get crapper as we go along. Let me tell you, they don't get any better. You know, that's that one. What's that?
A lady with her hands in her face.
Yeah. So what is the other thing you might see in it?
Now 2 people hugging.
Yeah. So that's one. And then what's the other one?
Oh, a face.
A man's face winking.
It's a really ugly one.
Well, you know, I think that, you know, it's just perception though, isn't it? This is just, I don't even know what's going on with this one. Anyway, this will be interesting to see what you see here, because I only see one thing in this one. Oh, sorry, I just see 2 things. What a zoo brick. What's that one? Actually, where's the rotator in this bugger? I don't know where the tools are to rotate this thing. No,
I see 2 things.
You see 2? All right, good one. I don't have to rotate it. What do you see?
First of all, I saw like some sort of bird with a long beak.
Yeah.
And then I can see the other side, it's a rabbit.
Yeah, well done. I saw the rabbit first in that one, and then I saw the bird. But, you know, I'm going to need someone to decipher what that means. So if you saw the bird first and I saw the rabbit first, what does that mean? Which one of us needs therapy? I don't know. It's probably me. Been looking at a lot of people. And so that one, though, you know what I must say? What you said to me, it's the first time I saw there was 2 people hugging. I knew it was someone with their hands to their face. I didn't realise there were 2 people hugging, and I saw the old face. So there you go. And this one, I've seen this so many times in my working life, it annoys me. I don't know why. So that's my perception. That picture annoys me. So interesting points. It's about perception. So normally we work as a whole group. If there was 8 of us in this class, I'd get you all to write down these things and put them up. But considering there's 2 of us, it was just a verbal conversation. But it's about, you know, I suppose within that, do you think there are things that might, and just pausing on why I saw a rabbit first and you saw a bird, what do you think might influence what we see first? So I saw the old lady first, by the way, in that other picture, and you saw the young lady first. So what does that? What do you think? Why does that happen? That we've seen different things. There's no right answers, right? So that I don't want you to sit there and ponder. What would Google say at this point? I'm not after that answer. I'm just after your opinion.
Maybe it's just how our brains work.
Yeah. That's kind of where I'm going to go with this. Yeah. And so what do you mean by that?
Different life experiences, different ages, that kind of thing.
Spot on. Yeah. So there was a better answer. It's no right or wrong, but there was a better one. So with that, the things that we see and how we look at things is all about a point of perspective, isn't it? And so if I saw someone, for example, if I'm walking along the street, would you know what might be someone who was quite affluent, quite wealthy? Would you know what they might look like? As opposed to someone who was middle class, as opposed to someone who looked like they didn't have much money, as opposed to someone who was homeless, as opposed to someone who might have mental health issues. Would you look at all those when you look at someone, or even think about those things?
Yeah, I do.
Yep. Most people do. Most people, in a split second, have made a judgment call on someone that they've seen, whether they've been introduced, walking past, or whatever. They've looked at them, they've made a judgment call. That judgment call is based on how old we are, what our own experiences are, what level we are in society. You know, we do that. It's identifying. We identify because we're grouping. We are grouping with people. Our brains group all day. Group, that goes with this, but we don't think, it would drive us nuts if we did think like that. But we're comparing and we're putting things in groups and we're understanding. If we taste something that's in that group, that's a pie, I know that flavour, that's a good one, that's a bad one. We're going through all these thoughts in the background. Whatever you're doing all day, but we're just really good at pushing it to the back of our brain. We don't look at it consciously, but we are making judgment calls left, right, and centre all day, every day. No wonder I'm buggered when I get home because I've just been thinking all day and I didn't even know I was. I hit that pillow, I'm gone. And, you know, that's because we're unconsciously making a million decisions all day. But we look at it's in this lovely dance, and so we're formulated. But it really, when you meet someone, and now here's the bad news, well, it might be good news. Working in the welfare sector, you will tune those skills so much, you will be like David Copperfield, a magician, in how you perceive things. It's freaky. Every time, I'll give you, and this is a really poor example, but it's real. One of my workers came to me and said, yeah, I'm reading tarot cards now. And I said, really? I said, so after 5 years of doing case management, you're now reading tarot cards and getting paid for it? He said, yeah, I've just got a natural talent for it. And I said, right. So you have been talking to people at an intimate level for 5 years and skilling yourself up. What you've had the opportunity to do is when you're asking questions and looking at people's body language, they're answering you truthfully. And so you're matching body language to real life stories. So really your brain's been really good at looking how someone's presenting and then hearing the story behind it and then saying, right, I'm just remembering that for later on. So now you're doing tarot cards and reading, but you're reading their body language and telling them a story based on some cards as a narrative. Great. I don't think you've got a skill that's naturally there. I think you've built that up. You've really honed the case management skill. You don't have a spiritual skill. I'm sorry. Please don't lie to your clients in the tarot card. You're just a really good case manager. And I look at that, and that's the skill set that you will build up working in this sector. You will deal with clients, and you will be the observationalist. You will start to see things. You'll start to memorize things, and they'll become that good you don't even know you're doing it. They'll be as quick as you walking down the street and making a judgment call on people, except now, after a few years of doing case management, etc., you'll hone that skill even to the next level where your judgment calls, instead of being loose, they'll be pretty good. You know, let's say you'll get your ratio from, let's say you're really good and you've got a natural ability and you're running at about a 70% hit rate, you probably take that up to 95. When you see someone, you'll be able to say, I reckon they're like this. 95 is good enough for tarot card reading in my book. So, you know, that's what I mean. These are some of the skills that you'll start to tell. It was a sidebar, but it's all about perception. And, you know, I think it's about how we look at things. Again, it's all about reflecting on what we already do and fine-tuning those micro skills. This is the art of dealing with people. This is the art of psychiatry. This is the art of psychology. And then there's the complexities of disease over those two. But, you know, the neurosis and frameworks, etc., you might go on to learn more and more, but this is, you start somewhere, and this is part of the art, the communication. I am carrying on a bit, aren't I? The other two things that I'll really go through quite quickly. Where's the other? What communicate? Yeah, so we've done that one. Actually, I might put a pin in it and leave it there. I think I've overloaded you. I'm looking at some other things that I just need to make sure that I've covered, but I think I've covered that and more. So I think I've taken you on a little bit of a journey of self-reflection. The main thing out there is just to try and make sure that you put up and reflect on some of your own communication skills and what are your strengths in terms of your communication skills. Maybe put up a couple of dot points on the forum and we'll have a discussion. We'll see if there's common denominators. That'll be a bit interesting. We'll also, next week, I haven't talked too much about the assessment because I've recorded it, but, you know, hopefully we'll get some more people involved. And if you can't get here, let me know why you can't get here. Maybe I can change the time. I don't really want to, but I'll consider it. Let's be real. But look, I'd love to have you here so we can talk. I think talking, it's a great learning base when we're all throwing in stuff and throwing in ideas, and you find you'll get a lot out of it if you get everyone in the class. Get a lot of chatter and stuff like that. It'll also give me an opportunity. I think this online tool has some rooms. I don't know how to use them yet, where you can put people, like we're all in one space at the moment, but you can split and people can go in these rooms and discuss things. I don't know how it works, but I'm keen to give it a red hot go anyway. But thanks very much to Tanya and Amanda for showing up. And, you know, hopefully we'll see you next week. And that wasn't like going to the dentist so much. It was informative. I try and be informative as much as I can, you know, a bit like Mythbusters. Really like that show at times. Great to watch. With the kids, they love it. I love it too. But hopefully that I'm delivering in a way that's informative. You can get a couple of takeaways that you will lock in, that will be part of that 25% that you take away and lock into your brains. Hopefully I can increase that 25% to 50%, as I have with Class of 10. It's so successful. So look, actually it's 100%. What am I saying? It was 100% increase. I'm not good at maths. Sorry, I apologise. But look, I hope to see you here next week. I'm just going to do two things now. I'm going to stop recording. So I'll see you all next week. Ciao for now.